This is the story of how General Motors burned through more than $10 billion trying to build the future of the Robotaxi and ended up with nothing. Cruise Automation was supposed to be the self-driving company that brought autonomous ride-hailing to the masses. Backed by the largest automaker in America, funded by some of the biggest names in tech, and valued at over $30 billion at its peak, Cruise had every advantage imaginable. And yet, by December 2024, it was all over. One horrific accident, a botched response, and a corporate culture that prized speed over safety brought the whole thing crashing down. Let's start at the beginning. In October 2013, Kyle Vogt and Dan Kahn founded Cruise Automation in San Francisco. Vogt wasn't some unknown tinkerer. He had co-founded Justin.tv, the website that evolved into Twitch, which Amazon later bought for nearly $1 billion. Dan Kahn came from a family of entrepreneurs. His older brother Justin founded that very same streaming platform. These were well-connected Silicon Valley insiders, and they had a bold idea: build a kit that could turn a regular car into a self-driving one. Their first product was the RP1, announced in 2014. For $10,000, you could supposedly retrofit a 2012 or newer Audi A4 with a rooftop sensor pod, cameras, radar, GPS, and an onboard computer that would handle steering, throttle, and braking on the highway. It was ambitious, maybe too ambitious, and the product never gained real traction. But what it did do was attract attention. Cruise went through Y Combinator, the legendary startup accelerator. Tim Draper, the venture capitalist, took a ride in one of Cruise's early prototypes. The car nearly crashed. Draper invested anyway. Patrick and John Collison, the founders of Stripe, put money into Cruise's $4.2 million seed round. The Silicon Valley machine was turning. Then, in March 2016, everything changed. General Motors acquired Cruise for over $1 billion. At the time, the company had roughly 40 employees. Vogt and Kahn became the youngest senior directors at GM. Fortune put them at number 7 on their 40 under 40 list. The future looked limitless, and the money kept coming. In May 2018, SoftBank's Vision Fund poured $2.25 billion into Cruise, with GM adding another $1.1 billion on top. 5 months later, Honda invested $750 million. By that point, Cruise was valued at $14.6 billion. A year later, after another round, that valuation climbed to $19 billion. By its peak, Cruise had gone from a $1 billion acquisition to a company valued north of $30 billion, all within a decade. Former executives were reportedly touting projections of $50 billion in revenue by the end of the decade. In January 2020, Cruise unveiled the Origin, a purpose-built autonomous vehicle with no steering wheel, no pedals, no manual controls at all. It was electric, designed to last 1 million miles, and built around a full sensor suite, cameras, radar, and LiDAR, the laser-based technology that maps surroundings in 3 dimensions and had become the backbone of serious self-driving programs. This was the Level 4 Robotaxi of the future, capable of operating without any human input within a defined area, according to the SAEJ 3016 classification that the entire industry uses as its benchmark. At least, that was the pitch. Behind the scenes, tensions were building. Dan Ammann, GM's former president, who had been installed as Cruise's CEO in 2019, reportedly wanted to take the company public or spin it off as independent. Mary Barra, GM's CAO, saw it differently. She considered Cruise core to GM's long-term transformation. In December 2021, Barra abruptly fired Ammann. Kyle Vogt stepped in as interim CEO, and by February 2022, he was named permanent CEO. That same month, Cruise opened its service to the public. In June 2022, the company received California's first-ever driverless deployment permit from the California Public Utilities Commission, the regulatory body overseeing commercial passenger service, separate from the California DMV, which handles vehicle testing permits. Between the two agencies, Cruise was operating under a uniquely complex regulatory environment. The next year, in August 2023, California approved Cruise for 24/7 commercial robotaxi operations across San Francisco. Cruise was charging ahead at full speed. While its main competitor Waymo moved with caution, Cruise adopted a Silicon Valley blitz mentality. The broader competitive landscape made that pressure understandable. Amazon had quietly built Zoox, a robotaxi startup it acquired in 2020. developing a purpose-built vehicle of its own. Tesla was pushing full self-driving software to millions of consumer vehicles, betting that camera-only systems and massive fleet data would eventually outrun purpose-built AV programs. The race felt existential. And Cruise responded by pushing to deploy as fast as possible. It was a strategy that would prove catastrophic. At 9:29 p.m. on October 2nd, 2023, an unoccupied Cruise Robotaxi was stopped at a red light in San Francisco. A pedestrian was struck by a separate human-driven vehicle and thrown into the path of the Cruise car. The Robotaxi's sensors, its cameras, radar, and LiDAR arrays actually detected the pedestrian. They tracked her accurately, but here is where the technology failed. The system classified the collision as a side impact, rather than recognizing that a person was beneath the vehicle. Following its programming for that scenario, the car attempted to pull over. It dragged the woman 20 feet down the street. The injury was severe, but what happened next arguably caused more damage to Cruise than the accident itself. By the morning of October 3rd, Cruise leadership knew the car had moved forward after the initial impact. More than 100 employees, including members of the legal, government affairs, and systems integrity teams, were briefed on this detail before the company met with regulators. Yet when Cruise presented the incident to the California DMV, they showed video of the initial collision but failed to adequately convey that the vehicle had subsequently dragged the victim. On October 24th, the California DMV suspended all of Cruise's permits. The California Public Utilities Commission followed. 2 days later, Cruise halted operations across the entire United States. A third-party investigation conducted by the law firm Quinn Emanuel, commissioned by GM, concluded that Cruise hadn't purposely misled regulators. But the findings were damning nonetheless. The report described an US versus them relationship with regulators, a fixation on correcting what leadership saw as an inaccurate media narrative rather than focusing on transparency, and what investigators called fundamentally flawed judgment. The fallout was swift and brutal. On November 8th, Cruise recalled its entire fleet of 950 vehicles. On November 19th, Kyle Vogt resigned. The very next day, Dan Kahn followed him out the door. In December, 9 senior executives were fired, including the Chief Operating Officer, the Chief Legal Officer, and the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs. Then came the layoffs. 900 employees, 24% of the workforce, informed of their fate just before the holidays. The fines piled up too. In September 2024, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration hit Cruise with a $1.5 million penalty. In November, Cruise agreed to a $500,000 criminal fine as part of a deferred prosecution agreement with the Department of Justice, admitting to filing a false report about the incident. GM tried to salvage something. In June 2024, they brought in Mark Whitten, a founding engineer of Xbox and Xbox Live, as the new CEO. Whitten called it the opportunity of a lifetime. It lasted less than a year. On December 10th, 2024, General Motors announced it was shutting down Cruise's Robotaxi business entirely. Employees were blindsided. Some had been preparing to launch commercial operations in Houston the very next week. They found out via a Slack message containing a link to a GM press release. By February 2025, Cruise was merged into GM. 50% of the remaining workforce was cut. Whitten and other top executives departed. The Origin vehicles, those steering wheel-free Level 4 robotaxis of the future, sat in storage at GM's Milford Proving Ground. Mary Barra put it simply: you've got to really understand the cost of running a robotaxi fleet, which is fairly significant, and again, not our core business. Kyle Vogt's response was less diplomatic. Quote, "In case it was unclear before, it is clear now. GM are a bunch of dummies." Vogt moved on. In 2024, he launched the Bot Company, a robotics startup building household robots, raising $150 million in seed funding at a $550 million valuation. The man who nearly gave Tim Draper a heart attack in an early self-driving prototype was already building something new. Meanwhile, Waymo, the company that moved slowly and cautiously, now operates in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Phoenix, with plans to expand further. The tortoise, it turns out, beat the hare. What makes this story particularly pointed is that it isn't the first time GM has been here. In the 1990s, they built the EV1, the first mass-produced electric vehicle of the modern era, leased to drivers across California and Arizona, praised by owners, and then systematically recalled and crushed by GM in 2003 when the company decided the electric future wasn't profitable enough. A decade later, they built the Chevrolet Volt, a plug-in hybrid that genuinely worked, won awards, and was discontinued in 2019 when SUV sales made it seem unnecessary. And now Cruise. 3 times GM has reached for a transformed future. 3 times they've pulled back. With Ford and Volkswagen having already shut down Argo AI in 2022, Detroit's automakers are now 0 for 2 in the autonomous vehicle race. $10 billion, a decade of work, hundreds of thousands of rides completed, all reduced to a cautionary tale about what happens when you scale faster than your technology, your culture, and your judgment can support. The autonomous vehicle race, however, is far from over. Waymo is expanding. Zoox is still developing its purpose-built Robotaxi. Tesla continues pushing full self-driving to millions of vehicles. And somewhere in a garage or a lab, the next Cruise is probably already raising money. If you want to follow where this goes, who wins, who stumbles next, and what the technology actually looks like in 5 years, subscribe to Autonomous Insider. We cover every move.